We're back. Feels so good to be back. Welcome, everyone, to the Cluster Puck Podcast, part of the MHRT Network. Here at Center Ice, I am Nick, locked in a hotel room in St. George, Utah, and beside me here is Brit, sitting in the comfort of probably her own bed or couch in her home that was struck by lightning a few weeks ago. How's it going?
Yeah, good times. Just back on my bulk stuff, Shut my windows so I don't have a glare behind me. Yeah, just the usual stuff. My dog just brought in a huge beetle that
there you go.
And I sat down and got settled in for this. He's just rolling on it and batting it around. So we'll see if I have a total meltdown before then. You gonna holler at my grandma George or what?
I just might, but I'd have to walk through this blazing hot weather that we have outside as part of the new it's part of the new job. I have to come down here every week and kind of do the status of projects and stuff like that. But boy, it is just
I don't know,
man.
Desert Utah. So to me, Utah is nothing but desert. So
That's right.
The part of Utah isn't even it's not in my brain at all. So and it's a brutal, bone scorching heat there.
It just feels like I'm standing in a dry hot tub. I don't know how else to describe it.
Yeah, it's awful. It was like that in Texas where we lived. Just the second you walk out, it just permeates all the way in. It's awful. Sorry that you have to experience that.
It's all good. The good news is though, I typically go alone. But this time I have Allie with me and she's watching from the other room. So not all bad. Not all bad. We have company, which is nice. So I don't go crazy.
Supposes Barclay Goodrow and has to ingest all the shit that Chris Jury's. It sounds like some naughty stuff. I think
there could be some
accusing him.
Some scandalous things going on over there.
Is that illegal technically? I mean, I suppose
it's not illegal from what I understand.
Jury of putting Barclay Goodrow on waivers because they had something worked out with the Sharks, which it can only be done if you want to make a deal with the worst team in the NHL, because Sharks would have first dibs at him, and that was thanks, Captain. That was to bypass his. He has a 16 team. No trade clause, but since he doesn't have a no move clause, he can be put on waivers. So I don't know if that's something you can be held accountable for, or if that's just tough luck, just a loophole. And that's our guy.
Find out.
Is their main man. So we'll see.
Yeah, crazy things. Not
like he's nothing, man. I don't hate Barclay Goodrow. I don't know what he's making, but he's a nice vet. I wouldn't hate him on the Avs. That's for damn sure.
It's so crazy because I was talking to Allie about it, and I said, because throughout the regular season, she was just like, get him off this team. But then when the postseason hit and he was really helpful to the team and the Rangers getting far in the postseason and stuff, then the news came out. She became like, oh, why am I sad about this? I'm not supposed to be sad.
Yeah.
So crazy, the mixed reaction, how it goes. But
yeah, I'm curious. The only thing that I would wonder is if it's tampering because his contract's not up.
Maybe.
I don't know.
It could be, but I guess the only
in other big trade news, we can hit it up real quick. Can you believe the Kemper trade? Isn't that wild? And it's weird because there's two states of mind. Do you think that's tidy work for the Kings, or is that some tidy work for the Caps?
Here's my thing. I still feel like it's kind of a lose-lose for both teams.
Yeah, it was kind of let's just change our dead weight and see if one of them
just to see if something flinches. That's kind of my thing.
Just 1-for-1, Pierre-Luc Dubois, which is he's on 7x8.
He's on a hardy contract. Yeah.
And then Darcy Kemper, who I think has 2 or 3 more years at $5 million. And
5.5, 6.
So weird. They just excuse me, people, but the Stanley Cup playoffs are going right now. Can you just screw off for 5 minutes and all these guys come out with all the drama?
It was weird because all in one day there was just this league-wide twitch.
2 hours ish.
Yeah, it's like Markstrom gets traded from Calgary to New Jersey.
Dude, yeah, that's Devils they're gonna be in it now. That's
something's up.
sometimes I go back and forth if Markstrom really is that good, but it's been a minute since he really had a chance, but that's wild. And Calgary didn't get much back. So I don't know. That was crazy. And all of these things had to happen quick. I know that the PLD one had to happen because he had a no trade clause, which why the crap did they give him a no trade clause on top of term and cash? Like, I just don't understand. He is such an Pierre-Luc Dubois is seriously one of the most mystifying like characters. And the thing with that trade with Calgary, they definitely got fleeced because it's a protected. If they don't make it, what is it? Like if the Devils don't make it, like finish in the top 10 or something like that, or some playoff run, then they don't get to use that pick till 2026.
Something like that. It's weird. It is a weird trade.
I know that Markstrom was very unhappy and basically at this point was demanding out because he said, don't even talk to him unless you have a trade like lined up, set in stone, blah, blah, blah. And they were going to trade him to the Devils prior to the deadline, right?
They had a deal worked out months ago, I want to say, but just for some reason it fell through.
And he's got like kids in school and stuff, and he just didn't want, which I don't even know why he's acting like they were throwing off some like playoff season or something, because I don't think there was any chance that Calgary was going to do anything, but he's pretty pissed off. And I think at this point that whole relationship was tainted. So they needed to get rid of him. And I think the Devils said, we want our goalie now. So that, I mean, you've got Ullmark. There wasn't a lot of goalies out there, but there was spots that needed to be filled quickly because there's not too many teams, and now kind of Kings have their goalie, I guess. I don't know.
I guess they got their tandem because that's an expensive backup. They're just
gonna roll with that because Kemper, I don't think he's that bad. I think he just kind of had a bad year, and then Lindgren caught fire. And what's scary is you might see Lindgren come back to earth next year. So I don't know.
Yeah, well, I guess only time will tell, but it's
running out of seats at the table. It's kind of crazy because
that's because everything just like a bunch of trades just happened in the span of a couple hours, and
and there had been some big goalie trades, and they happened in like one day when they were.
It was the craziest thing, but anyway, word vomiting aside, let's kind of get into the meat and potatoes of the episode. Before we get into that, though, don't forget everyone to like and subscribe, follow the MHRT network so you can get notified when shows like the Clusterpuck podcast go live. You can follow them on the various social media platforms of your choosing, wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to follow us, you can follow us at Clusterpuck Avs on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads, as well as at the Clusterpuck podcast on Facebook. Okay, Britt, so there's a few things that we need to talk about. The first one being the kind of the stories that are at least they'll keep on giving, I should say, and that is the Stanley Cup final. And then we'll get into a few things Avalanche related later in the episode. But we're going to game 6, but it did not look like it was going to happen like that after the Panthers took a 3-0 series lead. And you thought, and like we discussed in the previous episode before the...
Oh my God, kicking ass for that 3. I mean, Bobrovsky was already like signed, written, and stamped as the Conn Smythe winner. And what's crazy is they were doing it really with very quiet performances from Tkachuk. And so it was like, oh my God, like if he wakes up, then they're going to steamroll them.
Oh yeah.
I don't care. I just need this to be on paper. I don't care what happens from here on out. That goal, like that empty net save from Tkachuk last night was
incredible.
The greatest thing I have ever seen.
Incredible.
And is like, people have been, I think that after this series are done, I think that we're going to hear major injuries on Tkachuk, McDavid, Draisaitl.
Oh, sure.
And, who's the other big Panthers guy? Their captain.
Barkov.
Yes, I think that all 4 of them are going to have insanely, like, we're going to go, holy crap. But that was so telling of Tkachuk, like in the last dying seconds of the game for him to just take away that goal. And then I don't want to say that, like, I don't know who else was out there with him, but whoever it was that gave up or thought it was already in. It's just like such a disservice because if you go watch, have you watched the angle of it like from inside the net?
I did. I saw as many angles as I could, and it's like every way I looked at it, that
So
puck
bad.
should have headed just right in.
And it
So
looks
that save was amazing.
He basically sacrificed his face. Like he was legit going to just like eat the whole entire post. Mouth guard just dangling out of his mouth. I swear to God. You ever watch and see now that Erod,
The
he's
only thing I
always
noticed.
mouth guard hanging out of his mouth. I'm like, oh God.
Oh, it's contagious.
It's so gross. It drives me insane. As like the mom and coach in me is like, put that in your mouth.
You nasty.
Yeah, I will never get over. I think that's honestly one of like the top 10 most like awesome plays
It
ever.
really was.
So sweet.
It would have been, I think the whole save, that entire play would have been even more amazing had Connor McDavid not just put it right back in.
Such a buzzkill, man. Such a
Right,
buzzkill.
and it was just like, oh, like it was the most amazing save followed up by the greatest
Yes,
buzzkill of all times.
and OEL was like fucking halfway to the bench pouting already. And could you imagine Kachuk like sacrificing your whole entire like mouthful of teeth just to watch him pout his way out of there and have it stuffed right back up your butt? Because I mean, truthfully, they could have gotten a stoppage and like truly gone and scored another goal. Like, I mean, it's not even out of the Panthers team. They're maniacs.
It's just the most bizarre thing because like we mentioned, the Panthers up 3-0, right? A 3-0 performance in game one. Bobrovsky, Conn Smythe masterclass, right? Amazing. Shut the door on every little thing that happened. Game two, the Panthers win 4-1. Obviously, Bob lets in kind of a little squeaker there, but still, he displays this masterclass, and the Panthers' lines are just rolling.
Him and him alone, wasn't it? The first game that he single-handedly
the first game, that game one was like Bobrovsky versus the world.
Yeah, he set the tone for like. Hope you guys are looking forward to not winning, no matter how many shots you take. They literally did to Edmonton what Edmonton had just done to the Rangers, like Dallas, like the 35-10 shot. Excuse me, my dog is very proud of hunting antics, so he keeps coming to remind me that he's got a bug on the ground. So
the beetle, that's right.
Yeah, he's just still just kind of talking to it. I think it might be almost dead. So, but he keeps going and checking on it, and then coming over and hopping on my lap if you can.
There you go.
But yeah, I don't even really. I'm like spite voting, like spite cheering right now. I just don't want Edmonton to win, and essentially all I'm cheering for is Paul Maurice to get a cup, and for Rodriguez to get a cup. He is still the leading scorer in these playoffs. I mean, I love him so much, and like him being the darling makes my heart so freaking happy. Like it's just so nice to see just the dude. I mean, and
he's like doing well.
He's our buddy, you know. I don't know.
Just for me, he'll always be, and I said this the last time, he'll be the one that got away.
And
you know, it's like, oh, if we could have just signed him for a long-term deal, but at the same time, he picked Florida. And in an interview, he even said why. It's like he knew that there's a good chance to win the cup here, and obviously, he's had what now 4 or 5. Oh, he had a hat trick, so he's at what 6 goals now, 7 goals.
So many,
which is crazy.
Tons of assists, but he's just he's like a utility knife. I mean, he just plays everywhere and anywhere, and he's just really sweet. He's a sweet dude. I like him, and he's tough. He's not big. Like there's nothing wildly like exceptional about him, but there's something really valuable about dudes that just really can do it all.
And you mentioned kind of a do it all thing, because in those first 3 games, the do it all offense of Edmonton did not exist at all. And it was like the weirdest thing, because they had like one of the more lethal power plays. They had just a screaming good 5-on-5 defense, and you're just like, what? They're just not there. Connor McDavid wasn't there. Leon Draisaitl wasn't there. Nugent Hopkins, Hyman. Like I could go on.
Still breaking playoff point records.
Which is just insane.
So annoying.
But what helps though is in that game 4, their backs completely up against the wall. They decide to not win 1-0 or 2-1. No, they decided to go and win 8-1.
Seriously,
in that
getting
game 4.
Bobrovsky pulled, the best goalie in the world at this moment, and they get him pulled. And then poor Stolars, he hasn't played a single minute in these playoffs, has he? I don't think.
I mean, not up until then.
No,
not up until then.
So that's tough. That's a real tough
yeah
position. I need this to be done, and I need the Panthers to win so that then Draisaitl and McDavid can be dispersed elsewhere to win their cups somewhere else. That's all.
Join. So you're saying I'm assuming, and this is me predicting your dream team, so to speak. I'm assuming you're going to say next season, if they don't win the cup, McDavid joins Sidney Crosby and the Colorado Avalanche. Is that kind of accurate?
I don't even. McDavid just does nothing for me. He's besides like his on ice performance, like watching him play, but I just like don't even get excited about him at all. But I don't even care where he goes, and I don't care where he wins a cup. I just don't want Edmonton. Like, I don't know if you saw, but there was a little interview where McKinnon's talking about how he's been working out in the summer with Sidney Crosby. Did you see that?
I did see that.
About how he wouldn't even mind. He's like, they're talking about line combinations. He's like, I don't even care about playing center. He's like, I could just play wing for Sidney Crosby. He's like, that would be so fun. That would be like one of my dreams. I could play wing. He's like, it's not. And this may have been was it on? McKinnon was just on the 32 Thoughts podcast. Great interview. He's so boring, like always. I love him, but he's such a wet rag. Like, he's just so uptight. Someday
zero emotion. All the play, but no emotion.
He's talking about his diet, and it's just like, dude, we get it. Like, chickpeas, we got it. But yeah, he's going on about how like he's got his dream lineup set up. He says, the funniest thing I've ever heard the dude say, he's like, I don't even win faceoffs anyways, so I could just play wing with Sidney Crosby. So, like, they've got it planned. Like, they've already got their game plan, so it's gonna happen. Basically, it's set in stone. I believe it.
I still congratulate you on your faith in this move to happen. I will say
I do. It's never going to stop till
it's never going to stop.
Retirement. I don't care. None of it.
Even in retirement,
buried in the ground.
It'll happen. They'll be buried next to each other, both wearing Avalanche sweaters.
Exactly. Colorado Avalanche legend Sidney Crosby.
There you go. So anyway, back to the Stanley Cup. Obviously goes to Game 6 tomorrow night. That's Friday night.
Dude,
will it end there? Will it go to 7?
Feels like it's taken 10 years.
It's gonna be a wild ride. Just because.
Okay, so do you think, are we being deprived like the best hockey possible by making these guys travel? Like, I've only heard it like a million times. I can't remember it. Like 3 billion something miles between every game.
A lot of miles.
At this point where they're giving them 2 days off, but like, oh, it's so bad for your body to travel. People are speculating that might be where all of these clotting issues are coming from, is from traveling immediately following intense workout, which makes sense.
Yeah, it could be. And do I accredit it to that? No, I really don't, but I can see the argument for it. The only difference, they get the extra day, but they're traveling as if they would anywhere else, right? Yeah. The only difference is they get the extra day of rest to get over the jet lag, the fact that they traveled for a long time. So there were remedies for that. So I don't think we're deprived of the best hockey. It's kind of cool that that's a new record as far as like travel distance.
Is there a distance that you could travel?
Vancouver I think Vancouver would be the farthest one
from Florida.
Maybe. Yeah, it is. It's kind of a weird sweep, but it's either Edmonton or Vancouver that is the farthest one. So, but still, I mean,
a fine line of like too much time off and too little.
Exactly, and that's
too much time is just as bad as too little, because especially the way these guys are like limping along, you can't take too much time off to where all those things start setting in and you're
lingering. And exactly. Sure. And I think they did a pretty good job, because anytime there was the double homes, right, they had just the one day in between.
Yes. And that's why it sucks that they can't always just have 2 games, but I understand the fairness. And like, can you imagine?
Well, I think all 7 should just be played at the home team's stadium. Just why not?
I
Have home ice advantage every game.
Is home ice advantage even like relevant right now either? Like Edmonton,
It sure
the bed during their first home game. The big thing
yes,
is
but
to make
no.
money though, because Edmonton has got to be just holy shnikes. That town has been waiting for a Stanley Cup final.
That's right.
Believe?
That's
Oh
right.
my God. So like that moss pit, I don't know if you've like watched it. After the games, these cars with just driving around honking. The whole town is just honking. The whole entire state of they're just honking. It's so crazy. The excitement is adorable, but I don't want him to have it.
That's so crazy. See, what was interesting is for me, I don't really have skin in the game, right? So for me, I just said I wanted a good series. And if you remember from last episode, I said it will either be a sweep or go to 7.
That last game was incredible, though. That last game was
it was a comeback that could have been, right? But it made for a great game. So I think we're in for a good game 6.
For sure.
It's gone a good distance now where I'm at least happy, because I thought, a sweep was imminent, it felt like, right? Yeah. But I was like, that just felt like a really boring series if Edmonton couldn't do anything, right?
Yeah. It takes away from the I don't know, the essence of pride in it, because if you switch it, like then it was just too your opponent.
Like it would have felt worse if just as bad, if not worse, as the Golden Knights game / the Montreal Tampa series. Yeah.
Well, and that's what if the Oilers do win, it just kind of has an asterisk to me, because like they had the easiest run. Honestly, it was Dallas that got screwed. Like they were the ones who didn't have.
Could have been. Well, and in turn, they beat the Avalanche. So really, the Avalanche,
are
the ones who got screwed over the most.
Yeah.
But at the same time, a reverse sweep would be one of the most insane stories to talk about for years to come.
Exactly.
Now, it comes at Florida expense, obviously,
of Alberta.
But and that's the hard part, because do I think Connor McDavid deserves a Stanley Cup? I 100% do.
With his next team, my friend.
With his team, right? I 100% do, right?
Absolutely. It would be a travesty, an absolute travesty, if both he and Draisaitl, two of the greatest players, but also playoff performers to ever play, but they just need to do it somewhere else, anywhere else. Literally go to Detroit, go to anywhere else. I don't care if you go to Tampa,
Utah.
Again. It's so weird. I was looking at the opening schedule today. I'm like, Nik and Allie are gonna have Avs playoff games in their back freaking yard. Like, this is so crazy. It's so wild.
And did you see one of the preseason games is going to be in Iowa?
What?
Utah. Yep, Utah and the Blues are going to play in Iowa.
Is it in Des Moines? Because that's where the Iowa Wild are. Sweet. Oh, that's cool.
It's in Des Moines. So maybe if you'll have us, we could come over to your guys' place and we could all go to Des Moines.
I think Minneapolis is closer than Des Moines. I'll have to look. But yeah, that's pretty cool. I would love to go see Utah. I just like any hockey, but Des Moines it's a great hockey town. It really is. That was the race that I believe it.
Yeah, and we'll talk about Utah and Colorado here in a little bit, because we got some questions that we're going to have answers to. So anyway, Stanley Cup, going to be a lot of fun. We're going to try to move on to actually talk about the Colorado Avalanche.
There's just not a whole lot, though. It's all speculative. It's going to be
it'll either happen in 6 or in 7, and either way, it's going to make for some really good news, especially if
tomorrow's going to be a fun game.
It's going to be a hinging game.
The next game would be even more fun, but it's nice to cheer for teams with little investment and just free ball it through. I can switch fandoms within the middle of the game if I want to, which I won't. But it's nice to not have that stress.
Exactly.
And just pick frivolous reasons.
Well, very good. Okay, so that aside, obviously, by the time we talk next week, we will have a champion. We'll talk about that, obviously. But for right now, there is the Colorado Avalanche, the team that we so much love and care for. They are currently in their offseason working out what deals could be. So that's kind of the big question that we want to talk about as well, is what do the Avalanche need? I don't want to get into specific players just yet, because obviously we're going to have the draft next week, and then the free agency hits right after that. So it'll be pretty quick 1-2 punch.
Nonstop. They said that once this series ends, if it goes to 7 games, that the management won't even have time to go home prior to the draft. Like, it's wild that we are like rolling all the way to like preseason.
Yeah.
There's no stopping from here. It's crazy.
It's just going to happen one after the other, and next thing you know, preseason's going to hit. So I think all the teams have released their preseason schedule, so that's good news, which means the regular schedule should only be a couple days away, right? It's usually pretty close after.
Sounds like it's like the home opener
should be a lot of fun.
Close to my birthday, so hopefully.
Oh, there you go.
I can get a birthday game, but I think the Muskies
will
that night, so hopefully not, I guess.
Well, very good. Okay, so as far as necessity, though, so obviously Avalanche get knocked out the second round. Was it a depth question? Is there a roster type remedy? What do you see the Avalanche trying to attempt in this offseason?
We just need stability, like truly just stability. Especially now we're back where we were again with the uncertainty of Landeskog and now Nichushkin. We just need to find some place to settle where we know who belongs here with solidified positions. I mean, granted, we're always going to want to have some fluidity in the line, but I truly just think that stability is the number one key. And we genuinely, last year, it felt like we finally found some stability. And then I think if we hadn't had the Nuke problem, I think that you could have taken Nuke out and plug in any mid-level winger, like even Erod, something like that, and we could have gone a lot farther in the playoffs. I just think that they were so mentally rocked. We just need to find some stability. I don't think that they need to go insane with adding talent. I think it's just more stable, healthy, dependable people mentally and physically.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. Now, and that's kind of one thing that I do hang my hat on a lot more than I probably should, is the fact that because of extracurricular activities on the Avalanche side with Val Nichushkin, obviously the one I'm referring to, it became a distraction, and that just led to too much of Dallas to handle, essentially, which is, to me, a large part as to why the play wasn't as good, and they obviously get.
Especially when you consider the emotional impact in that we have a team, which these are professional athletes. They're all on every team. They're all dedicated to having a healthy body, healthy everything. But we have specifically a team that is above and beyond dedicated to being healthy and mentally and physically committed. So to have somebody with those kind of extracurriculars, when it would comically be a problem just if somebody was eating too many candy bars, like that's got to just be such a mental blow to these guys, emotional blow, because they all are dedicating everything that they put into their mouth, every move they make, every choice that they make, and then to just have someone makes something so far off of the team's identity. You know what I mean?
I totally see what you're saying, and I think you're right. It's a hard time to adjust, especially when you're playing the same team up to 7 times in a row. You thought you knew how they were playing, how you were playing, and then just something large and like a big meteor hits you to knock you off your course, and it's hard to readjust and then get back on track. So to me, though, that aside, right, there's a couple it's really, for me, it's just a couple little things as far as shoring up maybe your defensive pairing and maybe your fourth line, just little things here and there.
Right.
Now,
it's like tweaking. It's nice that it's
just
not
tweaks.
Like a whole 2-seat. You know what I mean? It doesn't
exactly
like glaring.
And that's kind of where the Colorado Avalanche are kind of lucky, because their Stanley Cup window is still very much open, especially with these deals that they signed. McKinnon has the extension. Rantanen, I'm pretty sure we'll get him locked up, especially with this.
People who think we're going to jumping. Rantanen or not. Rantanen will retire with us. Short of him,
I'm of that opinion too.
He wants to be an Avs. Like, that's all he's an Avalanche. I mean, he's not going anywhere. And he knows where, like, he gets his success with a particular set of dudes, and I just really do believe that he values the people around him. So leaving guys like McKinnon and Makar isn't something that most people want to do, to etch out a new journey. It's just, I don't even have. Would you ever have Rantanen in any kind of trade proposition
No, to be honest, I really wouldn't, just because we've seen like a couple of years ago, we saw what he was capable of. He
Yeah.
had like 118, 114 points, somewhere around there, 108. He was just electric, right? So we know exactly what he's capable of. And the fact that he's used to playing with McKinnon and Makar and used to playing with Landeskog when he comes back, that type of thing.
And
I
generally
just don't
healthy.
see
That's
him.
his
Exactly.
game.
I just don't see him going anywhere else, especially that he has Arturi Lehkonen to
We
speak
got this
Finnish to,
little Finnish little posse, and that's
and
what
little Justus Annunen, so
just further proof that the Avs, him popping up in these little trade talks, like trade fantasies or whatever, just proves even more so that he's not respected the way that he deserves, because there's
mhm,
nothing that somebody would trade us that would add up to what we get out of Brandon. And I'm sorry,
yeah.
we have got to learn to respect that man.
Exactly. So, like, if there was a trade package, I think it'd be heavily on the Avalanche side, that they'd get like either a bunch of picks or a
Sitting Crosby.
very very high tier pick,
And that's
right?
what even Sidney Crosby is like. That's not even a value. He's
Hmm.
young and healthy, and there's just not a lot of people that would be worth it for anybody to make that trade. We would have to
Yeah.
have multiple first round picks, high end prospects, and able bodied NHL players. So sorry,
Yeah.
as a tangent, I keep seeing him in trade talks, and it's just like, no, we've got him locked up, and not locked up, but even not on paper, he's going to get locked up. Like,
Yeah.
sorry, that's what you're saying. So yeah, we've got a crew. Our window is long. It's long.
It is. And what's weird though, are those propositions out there and rumblings out there, like Brett, you told me just today even that Ross Colton is a
Yeah.
possibility to get dealt away. And I'm sitting here going, first of all, I'm taken by surprise, but second of all, I'm like,
We
why?
just went through arbitration with. Did we go through
We
arbitration with
went
him?
through
Or we just
arbitration with him and signed him to a 4-year deal. So I'm like, why then?
thought that we knew would be rich to start with, but age beautifully. It's going to be a very well aged contract.
Hmm.
I don't know, man. And the only thing is if he were an option to trade that could fill multiple of those little niche spots
Hmm.
while also opening some cap. But the thing is, and I don't mean only, but like in this day and age, we're really getting to a time where 4 million isn't only, like he's only getting paid 4 million. That's not,
Uh-huh.
it's really not that much, especially because he's got more in him than he got from us last year. I don't think he was utilized very well. Last year he spent, a good portion of the year
Hmm.
just find a spot on the ice. And then after that, I mean, I don't feel like we ever, I mean, do you feel that we saw what we're going to ultimately get out of a comfortable, solidified Ross Colton, especially after he lost, losing guys like, kind of felt like losing LOC may have been kind of a
Hmm.
turning point where as soon as they found some stability,
Yeah, and I think we saw some sustained time of
Mhm.
a more peak Ross Colton. So I think what he's done is just fine. It's a good benchmark, at least that one that I'm pretty sure he would be able to pass, as
Oh,
long as
for
he
sure.
plays
I think
a very healthy and just a solid season, very consistent.
yeah.
So that's why to me the notion of lending him in a deal just seems so foreign, because it's like there's the lot of this potential that he has.
Well, and
Don't
what if
just ship
you
him
get
off,
back for cheap enough that out of the 4 million, like if you get like $1 million player and $1 million player, are they
Mhm.
going to add up to what he's doing? And then you're saving $2 million. Like, and that's
Yeah,
also, I
for a
think,
less productive two guys.
yeah, we have to eventually like keep some of our locker room guys, because he is an electric personality. And I feel like we're
Mhm.
kind of running out of all of our vibes guys. You know what I mean? Because we had
I
so
do.
many like sweethearts. Like when you looked at our cup year and even like random years, guys that are just really good in the locker rooms. And
Mhm.
we don't know if Cogs is coming back. We lost EJ. Even when you consider like Pierre Edward Bellemare, like those kind of sweet fire, like just fun and goofy guys, I think that
Mhm.
um I think that Ross Colton, if you watch how he celebrates, I've said it a million times, like just get yourself somebody that like wants some good things for you. Like he
Get
just,
you a Ross
oh
Colton.
my
Get
God, what
a Ross Colton.
anybody should be so lucky to get the way that he looks at LOC when LOC scored a goal or did it's so adorable. I cannot even stand it. And like I don't know if you ever went through and listened to his Empty Netters interview. That guy is so sweet. And just you can tell he admires his teammates. He just loves the crap out of everyone. His smile is lovely and he's just so happy and so smiling. I just think that there's guys that have value keeping in the locker room, especially too, like you gotta think JJ might be gone. We might be losing Jack Johnson.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of a weird year. It
Yeah.
feels like a lot more is going to change than we really thought would have, but that's some big, losing Cogs and JJ would be wild, man.
That would be. Well, and it's exactly those two that I refer to when it comes to shoring up the defense because I've kind of come to this realization that I think that they're both not going to be with the Avalanche next season. Right? And it's not because I don't want them to. They played really wonderful.
They need to retire though, and I don't
but
want
they just have the age no longer on their side, I guess is what I should say, right?
So it's a detriment towards the end of the season.
Exactly, right? And you could just see that the age over the course of the season catches up with somebody. It's why Pavelski had to end up retiring because I think he just came to the realization where he's like, I just can't go a full season anymore.
And you got to respect that they can make that decision. I do hope that Cogs and Jack Johnson are both guys who leave their roots in Colorado and decide to stick around because
I would hope so.
Both have those personality types to find themselves within the association elsewhere.
Yeah. So to me, the really, I think there's just kind of 2, maybe 3 free agency signings. Bless you. And it's to replace Cogliano and Jack Johnson. So kind of somebody who will be just a very solid third line D pair and a very solid fourth liner. Now, could that come from within the organization or from outside?
It sounds like there's a very realistic chance. I would anticipate that Malinsky finds himself a full-time roster spot.
I would hope so. I would definitely hope so because he showed that he had a lot of good qualities that the Avalanche enjoy in defensemen.
Yeah, I love
Kovalenko. Yeah, like Kovalenko. There's another one.
Played like an NHL player. Just like a unpolished one right from the get-go. I loved him from the second he came out. And granted, he's older. He was a college free agent. He's probably 25-ish, 26. So he's a grown man. Like he's not like some dude that needs to be babied through it. I love him and I really hope to see a good year from him. It'd be nice if we could have the chance to not throw him like with a Jack Johnson or something where he's going to have to struggle to swim, So I'm excited. I'm very excited for him. There is more discussion. Cal Ritchie is kind of at the top of there. So he may fill one of those spots that we are thinking we'll have to. The more we can fill with our pipeline, the better. But we don't necessarily have a very strong pipeline.
Not a very clean pipe, so
that's what happens with clean pipes is you gotta empty the pipes.
That's right, and that's kind of the situation that even Tampa's faced with. That we are kind of heading that same direction. Is they can't, they have to go after already seasoned veterans because their depth and within the farm teams just doesn't really exist, right? So do I think that's. I think you just nailed it on the head with Kovalenko and Sam Malinsky. If there's any two to bring up that are ready, I think it's those two. Right?
I think if one of those guys pops off and fills one of those spots, then that's a huge. I mean, that's saving a couple million for a couple years if just one of them can find a spot and stick. And I think the big thing with Malinsky is going to be finding him a proper partner.
Yep, I 100% agree. I 100% agree. So we'll have to just see. Right? Any chance Barry could ever return to Colorado? Well, funny enough.
Nick has got an answer that he's been.
Funny enough. A lot. Unfortunately, it's not Colorado, and this will transition us very nicely into our next segment.
Oh, does Nick have him slotted for Utah?
I don't have him slotted for Utah, but there are a lot of people that do, and I would not be upset about it.
I don't. Is he even is he like Jack Johnson status at this point? Like you just bring him in.
He very well could be, right? Because I think he's free agent this year, right? So if Colorado does bring him back, I would be beyond tickled pink, right? I would be getting my Tyson Berry jersey
I can
just
see you
day
blushing
one.
from here. You're in a dark room, and I can.
Oh,
still
I'm just so happy.
That's where
Tyson, if you're watching this,
turn.
come back home.
Oh, that's so
And
funny.
I am not whole until you are back in Colorado.
I know. It
But
feels
yeah,
like he should. If only he had been here for like a little bit more success, it feels like he would be a retire and like come
and
back.
I feel like the Colorado Avalanche do owe him because he was part of the Nazem Kadri trade, and because of Kadri, we won the cup. I mean, I'm just saying, right? Thanks to Kadri's help, I should say.
Kadri's going to be coming back, man.
There you go. There you go.
But and he'll be like, "Oh, thank God, get me out of here." They don't even have a goalie now. Well, I guess they've got that Shepherd kid. Is it Shepherd? Is theirs Hunter Shepherd? Is that Calgary's
Wolf?
Wolf
is Calgary's.
Yeah, but he's supposed to be like good, isn't he? Losing Markstrom isn't. I don't know. I think
they might kind of try to do a tank year, is what I'm. That's what the signs are pointing to. But yeah, as far as Tyson Berry goes, there were a lot of people out there that were saying Utah. And speaking of Utah, this will be our last topic of discussion. The question now resides in a lot of people's minds for various reasons. With Utah now having the Utah Hockey Club, soon to be the Utah insert name here's.
Yetis.
Could be Yeti, could be Outlaws. I personally, on my voting end, which the voting does end tonight, believe it or not.
Oh, it does?
I voted for Mammoth.
I got to go through. I got to check. Though my only struggle is with mammoths. It has to be the mammoths, technically, doesn't it? The mammal?
Technically, it could. And again, the Seattle Kraken instead of Krakens.
Yeah.
So,
I really dig the Outlaw, and I love the idea of the inherent narrative and like them butting heads with Vegas. I think would just be like so cool.
It would be cool because there'd be a lot of reasons, right? But regarding the Avalanche in Utah specifically, the questions that we've been getting, or at least that a lot of people that talk to me are giving is, Allie did vote Outlaws. That is true. Is will the Colorado Avalanche and the Utah become
how far is the drive?
Biggest rivals? Drive, I think, is 7.5 hours.
So that's pretty stinking close, especially for like Midwesty. That's
and flight wise, it's only an hour, right?
Yeah. Well, but how far are they from Vegas? Because I think
so. Driving wise from Vegas, it's about 6 from Salt Lake to Vegas.
Okay.
So, but that's just going by driving miles. I think as the crow flies, I think Denver is a little closer. If not, they're like right at the same.
Vegas is everybody's like mortal enemy. So yeah, exactly. I think it's totally and this can tie into Allie's question. My answer is the second they declare their name the Yetis, like I said, we need to immediately rebrand and
there you go.
That huge Yeti foot on our jersey, just as like asserting our dominance. They're the Yetis, but we got the nice Yeti foot.
That's right. That's right.
That's gonna be our
rebranding. And that's why I ended up voting for Mammoth, because to me, I do accept the fact that I think Utah Yeti is gonna be the name. Right?
The thing is, it's like rolls off the tongue, and there's a lot of value for like Utah Yeti, just like it
rolls off the tongue great. It really does. Yeah. It sounds really good.
And it's concise and clean and crisp.
It is.
That's my thing.
The thing is,
it's a lot.
My thing for me is like, I just
freaking hate it.
I know the history of the Colorado Avalanche, and I have a tough time saying the Yeti because I'm like it my brain goes right to the Yeti foot. Now, granted, they have not worn the Yeti foot since 2019, 18, somewhere around there, 17.
Which is BS, not because
any of us is ridiculous, right? So that Utah does have that for them. It's like, well, you guys left it behind.
We're just gonna take Gabe's Yeti hat as like it's subliminal.
Oh my gosh, it's such a good hat.
I know, it's my favorite hat. I'm like, Gabe's wearing my favorite hat because
I love that hat.
And I was like,
and that's the thing is, a lot of people in Colorado want the Yeti foot back, but again, they're not called the Yeti, right? So I feel like a more conflict of interest name was the Blizzard. Right, because it's like Avalanche Blizzard might as well just be Avalanche 2.0, right? So Yeti, it's like, okay, you're kind of taking from a secondary that was in the past.
Totally. And I
Yeah, but
love
at the same time, I'm like, I
like
just
the
don't.
Kraken. I like the like what's the word I'm looking like the fictional characterness to it. I like it. Like I think it's fun. I like the I don't know. I like enough. I like a little cheesy. It either needs to be super badass, which they already missed that with the Swarm, and so I think that like the kind of cheesy.
See, for me, and my original vote when Ryan Smith, and we were in Denver, mind you, when this question came
No.
out, I was sitting next to you in the car when this question came out, was if you had an NHL team in Utah, what would you name it? And I said the Utah Raptors. I
I
think
know,
that name sounds
it sounds
amazing.
like they didn't even put any thought into that. Like
No,
Raptors
and one of the reasons that I heard is the fact that the Toronto Raptors, their ownership and that group really have a pretty like a death grip on those trademarks.
Oh, okay.
So getting around that would just be an
Yeah,
impossible
because like
task.
Utah hockey and Toronto basketball totally like conflicted.
Totally makes sense. Yeah, because to me, I'm like,
And
it's
they
not
don't
even the
even
same
do
sport.
anything fun with the Toronto Raptors stuff anyways. Like
Yeah,
it's
plus
so boring already.
plus there is a dinosaur literally called the Utah Raptor. Hello,
Yeah.
but either way, um, does this then make them a geographic rival? I think yes. I think this is going to develop into something of a large rivalry, right? Very similar to that of like a Boston, New York, some kind of feel original six, just because now the Colorado Avalanche have something tangible that they could call rival. And the fact that if they get called the Yeti, stuff like that, just makes it all the more reason to kind of have that bitterness. Now, obviously, that's not good news for me, just because being a Utah guy and having now a team in my state and having been a Colorado Avalanche fan, which I'm not leaving behind. No, don't get that. Just get that out of your head. It's going to make for a very fun time, right? Looks like Brit might have dropped connection, but it's going to make for a very fun time for me because now it's like I got two teams, right? I'm not, like I said, not leaving Colorado behind, not leaving any of that behind. But now it's kind of like it's like there's this second child that all of a sudden just poof appeared in my hands, right? So obviously I'm excited for the team. They have their jerseys announced. They have their crest announced or stuff like that. So let us know, by the way, in the comments what you think of the color scheme, the name. Obviously, the name being temporary, I need to drive that point home. The name is only for this season. I really doubt they're going to run with Utah Hockey Club for the rest of time. I really, really doubt it. But the color scheme is pretty fun. I think I think those are temporary. To me, they need to add some purple to match with what the Utah Jazz have going for them. I think that would be a very nice little touch. However, I think it's going to make, like I said, just even from the preseason, there's going to be some kind of button heads, right? As far as Utah and Colorado, they're the sister states. They're part of the Four Corners, right? There's a lot of reason to have a rivalry, which it's super exciting because those are some of the funnest games, right? Like being from Utah, you have BYU and Utah, one of the greatest rivalries in college sports. Michigan and Ohio State. There's so many reasons that rivalry games just mean a lot more. And I think this is going to fit that bill really nicely, right? And I think the names that I've heard called again through for this rivalry type matchup is the Rumble and the Rockies. Obviously, the east side of the Rocky Mountains being butted right up against Denver, and the west side of the Rocky Mountains being butted right up against Salt Lake City. To me, it's going to be a home run rivalry game, right? A rivalry matchup, one that I hope doesn't develop into like pure unbridled hatred. And forces me to pick a side because I don't want to do that. But just one that it's going to just be a good, old-fashioned, hard-hitting hockey game every single time. So will it develop into that year one? Not likely, right? There's not really much to play for at that point. But over time, I just think it's going to be one of those things where people will begin to kind of drift apart as far as like fandom and picking sides goes, right? It's not going to be like, oh, I hope they both do well, whatever. there's going to be some division that'll eventually happen. And I don't want to say I'm excited to see that per se, but it's just going to be good. So thank you to everyone around my friends and family that asked that question. I think it's a wonderful question, because that's going to be the next big thing, is what's Utah's MO going to be? How does Colorado fit into this? So yeah, just a lot of fun things coming down the pipeline. With that being said, though, that does take us to the end of the episode. There wasn't much else we'd wanted to talk about. Obviously, this upcoming couple of weeks is going to be pretty busy. Oh, there she was there. Oh, there she is. Oh, it's like a cry for help. You're there, Britt. I can see you, but you're not there. Hang on. Let's see if we can get her back on. There. Can you hear us? I can hear you. I just can't see you.
I can hear you. My internet life is kind of a nightmare. Since the house got struck with lightning, we had to get a new modem. And it's right now.
Oh, that's all right. That's all right. But I think either way, I think that means your internet has given you the sign that we need to sign off. Yeah. I think that's probably what it is. Yeah. But either way, again, let us know your comments as far as off-season moves that the Avalanche need to be making, what you think of the rivalry of Colorado, Utah, things like that. We're excited to see kind of how this rolls down. And like I said, in the next couple of weeks, there's going to be obviously the end of the finals, followed immediately by the draft, followed immediately by free agency, and before you know it, preseason games are going to be playing. So a lot of fun stuff coming through the woodwork. So we're super excited to see that. So with that being said, Brit's internet is finally saying we're done here. So we'll go ahead and sign off. Thank you once again, everyone, for following along on this episode of the Clusterpuck Podcast. We really do enjoy your guys' feedback and participation within the episode. I really do enjoy that, getting to interact with you guys. If you like what you saw, don't forget, everyone, to like and subscribe and follow the MHRT network so you can get notified when shows like the Clusterpuck Podcast go live. You can follow them on the various social media platforms and podcast platforms of your choosing. If you do want to follow us, you can follow us specifically at the Clusterpuck Podcast on Facebook or at Clusterpuck Avs on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. With that being said, we hope you guys have a safe, wonderful weekend. Finals winner is going to be crowned. A Stanley Cup champion is going to be crowned by the time we talk next. So obviously that's going to be a big talking point. Let us know what free agents, what trades, what signings you want to have done in the offseason, who you think we should draft for this upcoming 2024 draft. And we'll just kind of go from there. We'll just have to see what happens. Probably something out of left field, as it tends to be. But either way, I think it's going to make for a great couple of weeks down the pipeline. Can't wait to be there with you guys through all of it. So with that being said, hope you guys, again, have an enjoyable week and enjoyable weekend. And as always, go Avs, go.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Tempo's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast racking up the flight miles. So high, I might never come down, so what, this is my lifestyle.